So as we saw here, this kind of a statement for printing X here was the easiest kind of looping through a list. But it's not always about looping through a list. Sometimes we want to have a kind of condition to that if it happens through a list, we copy the list into another or count the number of names that, for example, start with J or have A in it and so on. So we want to loop through the list and see if a condition is true. This is the new task that we want to know how to do in a Python file or a Python script. So for X, so actually let me define or declare a new list. So new list, and it equals for X in first list, and we need X, another X here at the beginning, X for X in first list if. So here we write our condition. It could be checking whether it starts with J or it contains A, or other methods that we learned here in the strings part, string tutorials in Python. So one of these methods is actually starts with something. So we want to here write the names that starts with J. So here it should actually create or declare the new list with Jack and James inside the list. So if X here, which was the string that we want to loop through inside the first list, X dot starts with and here it's parentheses. Inside the parentheses write J, and then we want to print new list. So let's see the result of what's going to bring for us. So here, as you can see, we have at the end something printed out, a new list, which is Jack and James. And here, as you can see, we have new list, X for X in first list if X dot starts with, and it starts with J, and so we'll print out the list. And as you can see, we have the expected result that we wanted, and here it's Jack and James here. Okay, we can do this for another one, new list 2, and declare it in a way that, for example, X for X in first list. Notice that, for example, we can write X, Y, or a kind of variable, any kind of variable it is, doesn't really matter. And here, first list, if, and we can write another statement if. There are moments when we want to not have one of these names here, and later I'm going to tell you how to replace it with another name. But here in this new list 2, we want to have, we want not to have, for example, James here. So here we can write if X does not equal James, and then we can print out the second list, new list 2, and once we print it out, you will see that we have Jack, Tom, and William, but we don't have James here. And also imagine that we want to replace, for example, we have a very long list that has a number of James. We want to replace James with, for example, another name. and then you can write it this way: new list 3, and or for example we can directly print out and inside of it we need to also declare the list itself. So here x, and before I want to start with 4, I need to write the if statement, because we want to also use else. So if we face James, then instead of James we use else to write what kind of new name we want to add instead of James. So x if, and here x if, and here we have x equals James, and we also write else here for the new kind of name, the new name, which is, let me write new name, and you can write any kind of new name that you like here, and here x if, and then we can write 4, we can write 4 for the first list. Actually had new list. Let me see what it was. It was first list, actually. First list. And then actually here we have 4 and we have x in. So we have a for loop, also an if statement, also we have else. So for x in first list, we want to replace James with any new name, and a new name can be whatever we want. So for x in first list, we want that to happen. Let's see what this error is for. The error is because it's L, shouldn't be right with capital. Okay, here we've got it. So if I run this code here, as you can see, we have new name for James. So actually here I should write here if x equals James, it keeps the name and does the new name changing for other names. But if I want to do this for James, instead of equal, I should write not equal. And if I run the code one more time, here as you can see we have Jack, Tom and William, other names, but instead of James we have the new name. So if the name does not equal James, don't change it, but if it equals James, so else means that if it equals James, the new name should be replaced with the James here should be replaced with the new name. So this is a kind of a maybe complex kind of looping through a list and changing something, but this is actually done in the simplest form. And however it is it's a bit complicated, but once you understand it with only one line, you can apply the kind of change that you like if something is true about one of the items inside the list. So this is a very simple modification of a list. However, understanding it is a bit complicated, but it helps you do a lot of modifications in a very long list, and do this modification for certain items with certain conditions. Or for example, you can do this with if x starts with J, replace it with a kind of other name that has another kind of condition. And this is a very, very good practice for loop, if statements, and also looping through a list.